Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been with us for a hot take, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement. We like to give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is Invincible Season 3. My name is Anthony Ragucci, and here to discuss with me, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a kind of another rough week for I feel, unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We're getting through it.
I gotcha.
We're getting through it.
Life is fun. It never ends. Sadly and happily, actually.
Old problems become manageable. New problems become new problems.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. But one thing that was kind of keeping me engaged this week was I did binge this entire season this week.
I love it.
I wasn't watching it week to week, so I'm kind of like fresh off it all.
I do appreciate having that.
Yeah, while you were watching it pretty much week to week.
Right, yeah.
But let's get into it. It hasn't been too long since season 2, which was a big difference from season 1, even though I don't think we reviewed that on the podcast.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of season 3?
Gooch, I said this in the Discord. I adored season 3 of Invincible. I had a really fantastic time with it. Watching it week to week kept me super engaged. I think, for all the grief it gets animation-wise, I think this season was really fantastic in that department. I thought the stories were really great. The story arcs, I should say. I didn't find there to be much filler. There was one episode I remember being like, this seems kind of like fillery. I don't really care that much what's going on, but I can't even specifically remember which one that was. Mark,
The Cecil one, maybe?
Maybe. No, I don't think so. I think it was after that. I actually liked the whole Cecil arc. That was probably my favorite part of this season.
Okay, really?
Yeah. I thought that was very interesting. Not his, the arc between Mark and Cecil, I should specify.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like just
flashback.
his flashback. I thought that was very cool, but we can get into that at some point. But yeah, overall, Gooch, I thought this was a super strong season. I thought everyone was at their peak voice acting wise. I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who we'll get into later, specifically really shined for me, even though he was only in it for an episode. Yeah, really fantastic stuff. What about you? What'd you think?
My favorite episode, my favorite season of the show, for sure. The animation has improved. I will admit, I noticed in the first few episodes, and I'm like, yeah, it's good. It feels of quality. I felt like season 2 and season 1 at points were just really low quality in animation, and it was tough to kind of look past when you have shows like Creature Commandos or any other animated show that have this really popping style and identity that just like Invincible just didn't really have per se. But I feel like Invincible has found its footing in terms of animation and pacing of the show. I didn't love the pacing of really just season 2. I think it picks up in a weird place and ends in a weird place, and I think season 3 also picks up and just kind of like
throws you into
here
it.
we go.
Yeah.
It's not this like definitive start and definitive end.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Invincible's arcs are really quick and really short, and they kind of move right on to the next one. And I think you see that with the end of this season, which is in the Invincible War, and then the Conquest, where you go from the Invincible War right into Conquest, and then they're both very quick portions of the comic, just like they are just a single episode in this season.
That's interesting.
But I think the Invincible War portion of the story is where Invincible really goes from a good story and a good comic and a good show to a very great show and a very great story and a very great comic. From now on, things are going to get very, very interesting. It's going to be less about the plebeian aspect of the superheroing, more to about the Viltrumites and
like saving the world,
the big picture. Yeah.
I see.
Whereas that was always there,
right?
And it has its episodes, but they're dealing with other things that are going on.
Right. Yeah. And I guess one thing I do appreciate about the show too is how fallible Mark really is. Like, he is very human in the way he acts, like, especially in that Invincible War episode when I don't know, I'm like, Mark, you're not going to go out there, you're going to sit there with Eve like while she's in a coma. It's like, yeah, you probably would want to do that if it's your girlfriend and you don't really, I don't care. There's plenty of other superheroes out there. I will say, though, there are a bunch of Invincibles that you can probably kill yourself. Either way, the one issue I think I did take with this season was Mark's power scaling. So in some I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but there were some scenes where I'm like, shouldn't he be like just absolutely fucking these things up as far as we've been like explained? Like, because we come into this first season and he's been pumping up.
Powerplex?
Yeah, a little bit, but not even him specifically, because I get that his whole power is being hurt and that charges his energy. It's more, I think, like the monsters that they face at like the center of the earth with the doctor or whatever. Like I was like,
Doc Seismic.
Yeah, Doc Seismic. I was like, shouldn't he be able to kind of? I feel like they've implied
I think
that
that's kind of always an issue with these characters who
Yeah.
are like Superman levels of power, where you can't really gauge it. It was funny. Grant Gustin was talking about this on Mike Rosenbaum's podcast when they were talking about, well, the Flash would be able to deal with all these villains
These
like
issues
very
in like
quickly.
a 5-second thing.
So
yeah.
like they wrote in reasons why, like
you have to. Yeah.
why Barry can't just, the Flash can't just
No, for sure.
take these guys out in 2 seconds and be done with it.
And you're right. That's a product of superhero stuff in general. I do like though that like compared to Superman, the Viltrumites can seemingly be hurt. And I mean, we see Mark get hurt a lot in this, as we always do. I mean, that scene when his fucking arm crunches when they're fighting is insane. And I think that's specifically where the fights are specifically where the animation shine for me.
Oh yeah, the Conquest fight is definitely a peak.
It's amazing,
You can
and
tell
even
a lot of budget when they're there.
100%. And that even that fight with Levy when he's got all his orbs like like bearing down on Mark and he's like trying to push through them. I was like, this is fucking cool. It looked really great. It really looked like they spent the time working on it. And you know, I think this show didn't have as much of a visual identity in the way of like it looked kind of like a little bit old Justice League-ish cartoon,
looks
a
like
little bit
normal.
new stuff. Yeah, it just looks normal.
It doesn't have this like aesthetic to it that like that clearly like Creature Commandos has.
For sure. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very like good example of like a super stylized like animation. And I think, you know, they're not dealing with the same type of battles in Creature Commando. Like I think they handle these big kind of splash pagey almost action moments very well in Invincible. Whereas, you know, Creature Commandos, it's like fist fight between Phosphorus and the Sarge or whatever. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Rick Flag. So I think they really do shine in that regard. But yeah, I think that just this season was overall incredibly strong. I did like the Cecil arc. What did you think about that whole interaction?
Yeah, I mean, ripped right from the comics. So, one thing I was realizing, I was actually kind of embarrassed about how much when we were talking about season 2 and how much I like did not remember. And I for some reason, like, I remember a lot more now that we're this deep into it. But like, for some reason, reading this comic, like, I really just kind of forgot a lot of it for some reason. Like, I read it recently. Like,
I was going to say, how long ago was
years,
it?
And I'm just like, I don't even remember what fucking happens.
Yeah,
here.
you just have like kind of vague stuff.
Like I'm like, and I kind of like I'm a bit like pissed.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like, again, I think that kind of goes into the fact that the arcs are so quick. It's not like Kirkman's other book, The Walking Dead, where like, the beginning to before they meet Herschel, like that's one arc and it's pretty long.
Right.
Then you have the farm with Herschel and that's
Right.
pretty long. Then you have the prison and that's pretty long. Like there's a lot of time spent at locations in that, where Invincible is not really written like that, and things do move at a clip and a lot is going on.
Yeah.
All at one time. So maybe that's why I don't remember it. But going back to your question, Cecil and Invincible. I think your point about Invincible being fallible is really kind of potent with them, because you don't really feel like Invincible Mark is making the right decision.
You don't.
That. Cecil is kind of a dick out of necessity, like the flashback essentially tells you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Mark is also a bit naive.
Absolutely.
And he's constantly going back on his decisions and making mistakes. And I guess that kind of shows he is human. Omni-Man, I think, is like more so in season 2, showing his humanity where he was not before.
How it's
he was very
infected him
much
almost.
an alien, and he was like above emotions and stuff like that. And he,
Everything
talks
was a
about
blip.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we get those scenes where like they're on the prison, and he's like, I really, and I like the delivery. He's like, I really miss my wife.
Yeah, it's so
Like,
good.
the way he says it is like, it's like he almost can't believe it.
J.K. Simmons,
but
man.
also
Yeah.
like with Conquest, and how he talks about how he is like he is even more powerful and terrifying than like the rest of the other 50 or so Viltrumites that are left, that they don't even like him, and he's ostracized and he's lonely, and he gets weirdly deep.
He's just given a purpose. Conquest. He's not a name. Yeah. Like,
it's very cool. I think Conquest as a character, again, like comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like didn't build him up. Not like we see a scene where like, you know,
there was just a Nissa going, someone's coming.
The leader of the Viltrumite sends Conquest out, and we know he's coming. He just shows up at the worst possible time, and this one of the saddest parts of the series. It is kind of awesome.
What a setup scene too. That whole end of Invincible Wars, where he's just like sitting there and he's just like, dude, this is my fault. And another thing, I like that Mark was struggling with like what he's done and what happened with Omni-Man, specifically with Powerplex and stuff like that a little bit. But by the way, Powerplex killed his family. It's not Invincible's fault. Like, obviously, like he did all that. Like it's not. I know it originates from him, and I actually
that's also a good arc. Again, quickly dealt with in the comics, quickly dealt with in the show, but like is good, and it's kind of showing you like, remember like the Chicago thing?
Yeah.
Like it's coming back now.
And I love how Mark even like, but I was like, Mark, it's not your fault, like you idiot. Like I'm having that internal monologue. But then he even goes,
I don't know.
No, I don't think it is. But then he even has this moment when he's talking to Eve and he's like I know it's not my fault, but I still feel like it's my fault. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Cause like he understands it, but that is a very human feeling where it's like, sure, you can know something, but regardless, you're going to feel a certain way.
Even Debbie has that moment where she's like, well, like
I brought you into this world, yeah. And it's
I brought you into this world. We raised you to eventually, you know, be a superhero, and like, you know, that sort of moniker was always like waiting for you.
Like we were hoping you were gonna get your powers. Like, oh my god, what was I thinking?
So she kind of blames herself, but you know, it's like, and you know, is it Omni-Man's fault? I don't know if laying blame to anyone, you know.
Well, again,
in particular,
you could trace it back to everything. Like, is it the Viltrum Empire's problem? Like, so I don't know. I think that is a very interesting, theme to explore. And I feel like he does kind of get over it, but I don't feel like he also does. I feel like he just kind of is living with that feeling of like,
who?
Mark. That he's like, I did cause this, but I'm going to try and do the best I can to make up for it. And I did. What's his name as Powerplex? Aaron Paul. So good. I feel like it's written in the comic?
Yeah, he's very vitriolic.
Perfect, and he's saying those lines like he's delivering it. Yeah. That's so funny.
The yelling was pretty good.
It was perfect.
It does sound like Jesse kind of getting mad.
Well, I was gonna say it's hard to take out the meme in my mind of him like, you can't keep getting away with this. That's why it's so funny to me that it's like that was already written.
Yeah, and like you know what's funny? Like in the other things he's been in, like in Westworld. Like he doesn't come off like Jesse in that, but in this, like there's a lot of Jesse
for sure
in the character, and I think he was in an interview and he said something about like traumatized people. I'm like, yeah.
But someone else I also wanted to talk about who I thought was one of my favorite characters this season was Oliver. I thought.
I don't like Oliver.
Okay.
For the very obvious reasons.
Yeah, he's an annoying little kid.
Annoying.
Yeah.
But like that's definitely the point.
Absolutely.
You know, like he's written to be annoying.
And I like
he is the annoying little brother
exactly
to the nth degree.
With superpowers. Right. But I also think they play off that in a good way of like, you think he's going to beat up that bully at one point when he's let off the leash or something. Like he's going to go one way and then he's like, oh no, he's a good kid. He knows what he's doing.
After killing the Mauler twins.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just thought like him kind of struggling with the idea of who Omni-Man was to him versus what he did on Earth was a very interesting storyline. And like him trying to reckon with that and just asking Mark, he's like, well, are they ever going to forgive him? And then Mark's like, probably not. Like, how do you tell him that? Like, it's your brother. Obviously, he's trying to reckon this fact that he grew up with Omni-Man very quickly because of his like alien heritage. He remembers everything. He remembers everything about his childhood. And he's like, he was always the man. He saved everyone on my world. Like, you're telling me something that just doesn't compute. And then he's even trying to reckon with the fact like that Mark's trying not to kill. He's like, but Dad killed when it was necessary, and he needed to.
And even like, hey, like you should have killed Angstrom Levy, and you should have killed. Well, he does kill Conquest.
And he thought he killed Angstrom Levy, and that's another thing. He was like dealing with that the whole season. That was a big part of like, he thought he killed this person.
Right. Yeah, the first kill.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. But just to get back to Cecil really quick, he's there is a Darkwing, but Cecil's Batman in this universe. Like, he really is. He has to prepare everything. He knows. I love the line of, like, what does he say? He's like, Mark, we can be the good guys, or we can be the guys that keep Earth safe, or like something to that degree.
We can't,
or we can't be both. And I was like, God, that's so good. And you can tell that he doesn't take like enjoyment in using these bad people to do things. He just knows what he has to do. And even like putting the thing in Mark's head that like fucks with that sends the signal. Batman will probably do that. Like, like especially with the most powerful person on Earth.
All of them, yeah.
And like part of me is like, yeah, you can't. I'm with Mark. I am in that moment. I'm like, you can't do that. You can't put a fucking weapon in someone's head. But I'm also with Cecil in the way of like, but he is the most powerful being, and like we've seen him go bad in all of these different universes now. So it's not like it's not possible. Thankfully, this Mark doesn't seem to do that. But I'd be curious if we ever see, and you don't have to answer this. It might happen. If we see any other good Marks from the multiverse pop up in any fashion. So I'm sure there's...
It's interesting that
because you only see the bad guys. Yeah. So I'd be curious to see like how that turns out. But I thought the Cecil dynamic was absolutely my favorite. Maybe Conquest is like a hair above it. But I thought it was one of my favorite aspects of the season.
What do you think about Adam and Eve and Mark? Because, at the end of season 2, him and Amber break up.
Right.
And now they're... Adam and Eve and him are just starting to get into a relationship. What do you think about that?
I thought it was interesting. I don't think it was anything like crazy. I like seeing two superheroes together because, I feel like that usually makes the most sense just in the context of the world. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Amber in these first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I think that there's good reason for it.
I don't like Amber in the show. I actually find her a bit hard to like.
Sure.
Like, there's just like I like Amber in the comic is written differently.
Sure.
Like she's the popular girl at school, but she's actually like
down to earth.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, and she's written a lot differently. She kind of goes through a bit more than what we've seen in the Amber in the show, and I just don't like I couldn't wait for them to break up because I knew the Adam and Eve relationship was coming, so I was kind of like just kind of like, all right, just let's get to that because I really like Adam and Eve. I like their relationship in this. I think it's very good. I like how it progresses and where it goes, and I think once we get to that portion of the comic, which we're approaching, you're gonna be like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this with a female character in anything ever. And
I'm curious. I'm excited.
Mean that.
And I started reading the comic recently, so I'm excited.
I started reading Compendium 3.
Oh, sweet. All right. Yeah, I'm on volume 1.
I'm like very ahead. That's one thing. Jumping back into it, I'm like, holy shit! Like, what even happened at the end? Like, there's so much going on.
Yeah, I'm glad that I've managed to not like.
It is a really strange comic because I've never been overloaded by a comic.
Right.
Like
And
Invincible.
It's rare that you have a full what's the word I'm looking for? Like a full set. Like you have the entire series of Invincible that you can read. It's done. That doesn't happen. There are examples of that in the past. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the plot lines that keeps coming back, and again, it's really random and it comes up very briefly, is the Machine Head Titan thing with like that mob. And I'm like, I never really understood the point of it in the comic. I'm like, what's
going here? Yeah.
Yeah, like
they're like the Illuminati, right, of the world, it seems, in some way.
I don't know if I'd say that, but
really? I guess, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But again, like, that storyline has like an episode or two, and it's kind of like, what's the point of this?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah,
I think those felt like the fillery. Yeah, with what's her name's brother, the one who what's her name? Multi-Paul, right? And then what's her name?
Multi-Kate.
Multi-Kate, right? Yeah, Multi-Kate and Multi-Paul. I thought that was
it's like
multiple
and
multiplication. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
It. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I thought that was, I think, the throwaway episode where I was like, I don't really care about this.
In the comic, they actually go into Rexplode and Eve, and Multi-Paul and Multi-Kate's backstory. Like it's an entire issue.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Is it the same that he explains in the show, Rexplode?
Yes.
Where he's like bought from his parents and like experimented on and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know there's a quick scene with that with Multi-Kate and Multi-Paul. But it's like an entire issue in the comic where it's like, we're gonna, and same with the Brit or whatever. He's explained like there's a lot of like And you know how the narrator, when they're having sex, switches away?
Yeah.
In the comic, it does that a lot, where
Yeah.
it's like, now we're going to totally switch gears.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk
We're
about
going to
this.
let Mark and Eve have their time together. So I did think that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they do that a lot in the comic.
To get back to Amber though, really quick, I just will say, I know you're far from alone. I see it all online, obviously, that like she's annoying. And I think that she is written kind of stupidly at some points. It's like, where were you? I was saving the Earth. That's not an excuse. Okay. But I think it does a good job of like explaining or kind of exploring the idea of like a superhero, you know, being in a relationship with a normal person and how that probably wouldn't really work that well. Like Superman and Lois, unless
You
like
know,
there was a specific reason for it to happen. But
Besides like Green Arrow and Black Canary, I mean, they aren't even superhero. Well, Black Canary is a metahuman, but like, there's really not a lot of mainstay, really powerful.
it's like Superman and,
superhero relationships.
I would disagree. Actually, I think there's
Really?
a lot.
Am I
I mean,
not-
you got
am I not
Barry.
thinking?
I don't think so. I think you got Barry and Iris. You got obviously.
No.
Sorry, go ahead. Well,
Iris isn't a superhero.
that's what I'm saying. That are not. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about.
I'm talking about the opposite.
I see. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So like, I mean, like, I
Yeah,
know,
you're right. Two
like Batman and
superheroes.
Wonder Woman are a thing in like the Justice League animated series. There's a lot of like tension between those two, but they never really get together.
Batman and Catwoman, but that's not a.
Yeah, they're not. They're not
yeah.
like Superman level heroes. Like you don't see that all that often.
Yeah, you really don't. There are a few that have been made. I know there's like Midnighter and Apollo who are like they're on the Authority. There are a couple. There's probably a few out there.
You're gonna love this one. Black Bolt and Medusa.
True, Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few, so there's probably a few, but no, I think it's an interesting exploration of why, you know, Superman and Lois's relationship probably wouldn't really work in real life if they met as children. I don't know, maybe it's different as an adult, maybe you could find ways to make that work, but you have a guy going around the world saving people every day. It's going to be an interesting kind of dynamic. And I guess they kind of even explore that with Omni-Man and Mark's mother. What's her name again? Debbie, who is another fantastic character. I think she grows very well or interestingly by the end.
The boyfriend, I don't think that's in the comics.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it's kind of fine. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. You know, she wants to find someone else. And
Yeah, I kind of like. I don't mind it.
I don't
it
either.
Doesn't feel weird or anything like that.
How old is Mark supposed to be in this?
I think like 19.
That's
or
what
20.
I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, so he's still pretty young. Let's get into Conquest a little.
Sure.
I thought Jeffrey Dean Morgan's performance was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, just giving it his all, giving his monologues. That moment where Mark, what was he gonna do? He goes, stop! He's like, I did love. He's like, what the fuck are you? You think I'm just gonna let you surrender? They just sent me here. Are you fucking wild? And then he just starts whining. I don't know. It's like, what were you gonna do there, Mark? Was he gonna? And I did see a great tweet. It was like, what was he gonna do? Like, surrender? Do what? Like, what was the plan there? And then someone responded. He was like, he just needed a timeout for a second. Just give him a second. I was like, that's it. Makes sense. But that whole episode I thought was really well. You know, yeah, we don't get we get a build up to Conquest in a slight way with Anissa being like, someone worse is coming.
Right.
But there's not really like a named thing, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a good setup in and of itself, and I think he delivers on it, even just for showing up in an episode. And obviously, it seems like we're going to see him again in some fashion with what Cecil's up to.
We'll see.
So I'm curious as to what that will end up being.
Yeah.
But I did think it was a fucking ruckus and amazing fucking season finale. Huge. Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, with Adam Eve, it's a big moment for her character. That whole moment where she gets, you know, not just the leg break from the Invincible War, but like her getting like absolutely fucked up, and then she like uses her powers in a way she never has, and it
awesome.
has some side effects.
Oh, it does. And just because
remember when her clothes are melted after she uses them?
Though that's right, I did notice that. Yeah, so there's something happening.
Yes, there's something happening.
You know, I watched the Adam Eve special.
I loved it.
I don't remember it at all. So I need to watch it again.
Yeah. Like when her mom talks about that little girl from across the street.
Right.
Yeah, she's the friend in that show.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I need to rewatch it because I don't remember very well.
But I like Adam Eve's kind of development. It's much different than Mark's.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. How it's like, you know, like it's more like her struggling with her parents and who she is
and them
like,
accepting her. It seems like an allegory for like, honestly, anything like, you know, homosexuality, like whatever, like something your family doesn't accept you for.
Coming out to her parents.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you know, she has acceptance like probably every aspect of her life besides her parents.
Her
where,
dad's
like,
just the worst.
Where they just don't accept that she has powers. It is
it's
kinda,
so
yeah. I think it is really I mean, it
I
makes
think
sense.
they
It seems unreasonable.
Definitely.
It is unreasonable.
And I think, I get it as they're trying to use it as that allegory, like I was just saying. And they do that, obviously, even with the X-Men in, like, Marvel. But I think it's, I don't know. It doesn't work. Like, if you had superpowers and could do crazy shit, I don't think you would be ostracized in the same way as, like, people were ostracized for being a minority or, like, something like that. Back in the day, I feel like everyone would be like, I don't know, if I was Angel and had wings and could fly, I'd be on Instagram. Everyone would love me. Are you kidding me? It would be amazing. So I don't know. I think it kind of works weirdly in that way, but I still think it absolutely works to drive that theme forward.
Yeah, like she goes to college and she takes the architectural courses to kind of like understand, like,
What
hey,
she's
like I
building.
can do this, but like I need to understand like the actual real world mechanics of making buildings.
You can't just put up a wall. It's just going to be fine.
And I mean, her dad does have a point. Like,
Yes,
he
absolutely.
is kind of right. It's just like you're trying to help and like you helped, but like in doing that, you also made people suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you didn't help. You didn't have the knowledge to help them.
Right.
In building that apartment or whatever.
Right,
it was,
exactly.
on,
She just put up the wall like that had fallen, like had collapsed. It's like that scene in The Boys when like when Maeve, they're in the plane and Maeve's like, well, just fly at it, just pick it up. He's like, I don't know, I can't do that. I don't know what am I supposed to do? Like, no, we just gotta leave. Like he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, and I think that's something you don't really think about like when you're watching superhero stuff.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else. We talked about Anatomy of Conquest.
I did that fucking scene when Oliver got smacked by Conquest. I was like, oh my god,
He gets spiked into the ground.
Like
I don't
shoots
remember
black.
a scene where he like starts to rip him apart.
That was rough too, and like when his teeth all fall out, I'm like, damn, he got fucked up. And I mean, so did Mark, but like, I mean, yeah, he broke his arm, and he like cocks his leg back in at one point too.
Oh, Rexplode.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
dude, I was like,
similar arc in the comics where he goes through like that traumatic event with the Lizard League, and like he suddenly just starts changing, and then he gets killed. In the Invincible War. It's the
was sad, man.
Same thing that happens. I have to admit though, the funeral scene, it seems like they just the panel in the comic is very good. Like everyone is kind of sad, and then in the show they're all just kind of standing there.
Sure.
Like,
right.
I'm like, what? Yeah. It just felt a little weird, like the way they animated that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it was really great, or the way they decided to pose the characters was just like, we're just standing here, like, we don't even want to be here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't notice, but I probably would if I went back and like checked it out. Yeah, but just that whole moment where what's the girl's name, that the character name?
I don't
forget
know her
name too.
superhero name, but her name's Ray.
Ray, I thought that whole dynamic was very, like, again, for something that would usually kind of pull me out of the story and that I might not really care about, I thought their whole development was very interesting. And dude, that episode when he's like, my life's great. It was that when he dies, I'm like, oh, he's fucking dying.
Shrinking Ray.
Shrinking Ray. I was like, man, he's dead. There's like, this is too good. And like he did. And I love that he just explodes his fucking skeleton to kill. Which one was that? Which Invincible variant? Was it Gogglesless one?
Yeah.
Great variants, I will say. I did enjoy them.
Yeah.
What was the one with like the goggles and the weird like he's in white and like his like skin looked all fucked up too?
He's like a Viltrumite prisoner.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
and then I liked Cape Invincible. I think was not Omni-Vincible, but the black and yellow Invincible with the cape.
Yeah.
I
think they have some backstory. I don't think they have much.
I think you see some of them in the Angstrom episode, the first one.
Yeah, they kind of mention, a little bit of like, oh, like mom died. Like some of them, like killed their mom. Some of them don't. Some of them kill Omni-Man. Some of them don't.
Right.
Like some of them kill.
It's
Rex,
a lot of
some
different
them don't.
things. Yeah. I did like that moment where he pulls Rudy out of the thing and he's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I thought you were some weird little baby thing. He's like, let me go.
I was some weird little baby thing.
Yeah. I did think that moment of him changing his name to Rex, maybe make your last name Splode. I don't know. It's just, I did not like it, but I was like, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of
you already stole his body. Maybe don't steal
you
his
see it in that flashback where Adam Eve calls him Rex.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you, in the comic, is that the same storyline? That he like takes Rex appearance, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah. It is kind of weird.
It's very weird.
That whole thing where he just it is kind of like
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Wild. And yeah, it's so funny though. When I'm starting the comic, I am getting confused because some people are like race swapped and stuff, and I was like, oh, is this the character?
Yes. Amber being the big one. I'm not sure who else off the top of my head.
Which isn't a big deal at all. I just
who else is race swapped?
Rex is a white guy.
Is he?
Darkwing's a white guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Both Darkwings?
I only saw the first one so far.
Okay. Yeah,
because I just opened up the back because I was just looking through.
I always honestly I don't even think I noticed that Rex Blode was not dark skinned.
Yeah,
like I don't know. That never maybe like computed with me that he was white in the comic.
I guess I'm just a racist.
I guess I'm just a fucking prejudiced motherfucker.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited to get into the comic. I'm only on volume 1. I'm reading them in the volumes instead of the compendiums.
There's a lot to look forward to. The Monster Girl stuff is going to, and Monster Girl and Rudy,
Rex
Rudy.
now,
yeah, that gets interesting. It just gets interesting across the board. What did you think about we don't get a bunch of Alan Omni-Man scenes, like really not a lot of them. Maybe like an episode and a scene here and there.
It was like half an episode.
I think it's like half an episode and like a little bit of like one of the beginning ones of the season. What did you think about the reveal that the Viltrumites are like down to like 50 people?
Like 50 pure. So there are so Mark's not a pure blood Viltrumite, but he is a Viltrumite in that like he
they mean like in the Viltrum Empire.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of wild because they're trying to keep their genetics perfect. So I would assume just the way they're based, so they can only procreate with each other.
Yeah, that's a big reveal,
and that I thought that was an interesting one. I mean, along with like, so we get the reveal also that his books in the last season are like they explain weapons that can hurt the Viltrumites as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I thought that was a big one. It's funny that didn't hit me as hard as I maybe expected.
It is quick, and I think it is easy to gloss over. But I wanted to bring it back up as like, hey, like remember that because it's gonna come back up.
And I guess I don't have like a basis to judge that off of. I'm like, okay, so that's just obviously a little. And I guess I'm trying to think like, okay, so how bad is that? I guess they can't. The idea is that they can't create any more pure bloods.
Well, there's a reason they only send one person to a planet, and they don't just take the planet.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Interesting. I'm curious to see where you're right. That has a lot of implications that I guess I didn't.
There's
really
a lot
like
of implications
fully
from
think about
how they're going about their conquest of planets.
Yeah. So there's only 50 Viltrumites that live on Viltrum. Is the idea, or there are other like. Okay, we'll talk. Yeah, don't tell me. We'll get into it at some point. I'm very excited. I still can't believe I've managed. What's Viltrum? I still can't believe I've managed to not look up a lore video, Gooch. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, I would honestly, if I were giving you a suggestion, I would just say read.
That's what I'm doing. I'm not
even
doing
if you
any
get past the show, just go.
Yeah, I think you
read.
might be right. Yeah.
Just kind of go past it.
We'll see. Yeah, because I'm on.
You got a lot to read. So
I do. I got a ton.
So we're in like the middle of Compendium 2.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot there still for you to get.
I'm curious how I'm wondering how like the volumes are split up. Like how many volumes are in a compendium?
A lot.
Well, no. There's. I don't mean like individual like issues. I mean like so the way that the volumes are split up.
Right.
I'm wondering how many issues are within
volumes.
the volume. Yeah. So I'd be 40 per compendium. Really?
I think so, dude. It's a lot.
I gotta look it up now when I get home. I'm curious. Either way, I'm excited
when you said
to get
you were
into
buying the volumes, I was like,
but I don't know.
Could have been a mistake.
But because like the way it lines up, I was like, there's no way there's 40 of them make up one of the compendiums.
You'd have to look at.
Yeah,
I can look it up right now.
I'd be curious, like what? Because the first volume ends where Omni-Man takes out the. You don't know obviously in the comic, but it ends with the Guardians of the Globe being taken out, and then I don't know where volume 2 ends. I'd have to look.
They're all very different.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the wiki. Buy me some time.
Yep. Invincible. I don't like the black costume as much. I know it's a thematic change. I understand that.
Okay.
And I can appreciate it.
12.
It's 12 volumes are one compendium.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. And how much are the compendiums? Probably like $50. I would believe so. But yeah, orange and yellow, or I'm sorry, blue and yellow.
They're like $40.
Go.
Hold on, I may be wrong. I think I'm wrong, actually.
I would assume they're 50 to 60 for the compendium.
Why isn't this just broken down in an easy way?
Because they don't want to make it easy on you. They want to make it as hard as possible to gather that information. Gathering it. I did like Oliver's costume. Again, it plays into the theme of like, he still really loves his dad.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Yeah. Either way, I'm excited to get into the comics. I'm excited to see where Oliver goes. I did have...
Wait. 0 to 47.
Issues?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Volumes.
Oh.
47 volumes.
And then there are how many compendiums?
3.
Oh.
2 is 48 to 96. 3 is 97 to 144. It's a lot.
I'm curious to look at it now. Either way, I'm excited to read them, regardless.
Yeah. But yeah, I like I was saying, really enjoyed this season. A lot of improvements for sure, and a lot to look forward to.
Absolutely. Steven Yeun, he's fantastic. He is. I don't feel like we've mentioned him maybe on the last review. He's great as Invincible. He's awesome as a voice actor because as we both know, acting doesn't necessarily translate to voice acting all the time. Someone who did pop up as the Brit, Mike Ehrmantraut, which was a funny one, and he was better in this than he was in Arkham Knight, I think, actually, sadly.
Yeah, we were talking about how Trio doesn't like that actor's name, John something.
Yeah.
The guy who plays Mike Ehrmantraut in Breaking Bad he doesn't like him as Detective Gordon in
Commissioner
Arkham Knight.
Gordon. Yeah, I don't know. He feels like he's just kind of reading the line off the page in it.
That's the night the Batman
died. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching with us. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your service of choice. We got a Facebook page, a Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below for your enjoyment. We're on all the social medias at Delco Nerds, on everything with an @sign. Otherwise, just look us up by name and we shall pop up. All this information is on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy. We will see you next time.